I'm Christine Conrad, and you're watching another episode of Innovative Tac-Tips, where I interview industry leaders in different, basically, industry landscapes. And I'm with Jess Bryar, and she is a channel leader in the tech space, and she works at Agile Blue. And I would love to ask you a bunch of questions. But before I go into that, into with a bunch of questions, what do you do for Agile Blue?
Oh, when you work at a cybersecurity company, wear a lot of hats. But officially, I am their senior director of channel sales. So I manage the TSD relationships for Agile Blue, and we are an AI-powered SecOps platform that continuously detects and autonomously responds to cyber attacks. So we look at a company's endpoints, cloud, and network to prevent breaches, and we also have vCISO services.
Oh, that's
Very
super cool.
cool
That's
technology.
really
Yeah.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. So you've been in the tech space, for a while. I consider you a thought leader. So what about the industry, um, cybersecurity included, or the whole tech landscape? What makes your heart sing about it? Just because I think when you look at tech, right, there's so much opportunity in the space. I guess for you, what personally makes your heart sing?
I would say, outside of the technical aspect, it's moving, there's so many vendors, it's changing every day. So it's very exhilarating and thrilling. But what really makes my heart sing is, being a female woman in tech, the camaraderie of the industry is nothing that I've ever seen before. The females lifting each other up, supporting each other, rooting for each other. Some of my competitors are the bestest friends of my life. And I think when we live in a world where so many females compete, it is just amazing. All of the networking groups and support groups
Mhm.
for women in this space because it's hard out there.
Yes, yes. I was gonna say a bunch of things, but yes, it is very, yeah. It's important too. Like empowerment is big when it comes to it's challenging, but it's exciting, and you feel like a superhero some days, and then you're like, oh my gosh, this is a huge math equation. What happened? So again, I can relate to that. Um, do you have a a most memorable moment within your career that you can that you experienced that you took away that maybe later set you up for success, or yeah, just I guess talk to, because I know a lot of people have in tech there's stranger things have happened. So is there anything specifically that you remember that made a big impact in
Oh
your
gosh, I
career?
would say so many things. That what's popping into my brain right now. I have been in technology for years, right? Started at a small MSP, then went to a private cloud managed service provider and traveled all across the country educating folks on the different cloud technologies, private cloud, public community, whatever.
Hmm.
So an old boss of mine reached out to me to become the channel director at X4 Communications, now Sandler Partners, for their director of cloud colo and security. And it was nothing I've ever done before. Didn't know the TSD community. At the time, they were branded as master agents. So I was definitely a fish out of water. Shortly after taking that position, we were acquired by Sandler Partners. And I was asked to, open up their summit with a training. So I opened it and I closed it. And I have never been so terrified in my life. And I crushed it, like shaking probably violently behind the scenes and like totally blacked out. I didn't even what I said, but people were applauding. It was great and whatever. And that following day, Kurt Allen, if you're listening, love him, one of my mentors, he said, your equity in this company just skyrocketed. I have never seen anyone present as well as you. And that comment just has springboarded me and given me confidence anytime I'm in front of a crowd. So I would say that's a memorable one. I had the opportunity to be featured in a book, How to Be a Woman in Tech. I actually have it on my desk by Cheryl O'Donoghue. So that was cool to be in a book. So I would feel like that's like
Yeah,
memorable,
no,
I guess.
public
Yeah.
speaking is probably the most, I mean, I think I think you and I can relate when it terms to fear, right? We have a lot of courage, but I think a lot of individuals tend to it's a scary thing to get up stage, right? One, to get on stage and to talk about something, just to be on stage in front of a bunch of people is, it's nerve-wracking in itself, but to communicate in a way that is concise and people have the aha moment, I
Mm-hmm.
think personally, a lot of tech leaders, executives specifically, need improvement. So the fact that you were able to do that and to educate and to inform and to inspire others to understand the training, right, and what they needed and set them up for success, I think that that's, to me, progress and defines like a leader, right, is to be able to take responsibility regardless of the outcome and to be able to progress and help others. So I commend you on that. And being in a book, like, that's awesome. That's a, and then it's, yeah, to be a leader in tech, I think, and especially a woman, is we need more role models to showcase that you can do it, right? You can have your cake and eat it too. And I think with that, like the last 2020 and to 2024, I like almost like, oh my gosh, should I black out? Like, wait, it's 4 years from 2020. Like, what just
Like,
happened?
oh yeah, it's like 2020. I literally have no concept of time. Is this a pandemic
Yeah,
thing? I
yeah,
literally, I don't know if it was
yeah,
last year, 4 years ago. Like for real, it's crazy.
yeah, yeah.
And
And now it's, well, and like the market, right? To be in tech in the market, one, I think people can be a little like hesitant, right, to join it, because right now tech is very, it's ever
revelation.
evolving, and with the AI, because what is it, every 10 years there's a learning curve, right, from a new technology, and with AI and all that stuff and governance and just understanding like the breadth of what it can do, I think is
Mhm.
exciting but also scary. And then just the opportunities within the tech world of like jobs and stuff like that. Like for me personally, I didn't start in tech. I worked at an ad agency, a creative agency, and then for the NFL, and then I got into
Awesome.
tech just because someone like, I looked at the revenue. I was like, ooh, yeah, I like
Yeah.
that. Like I looked
And
at it, I
I
was like,
think,
oh, I like that. And then I was like, oh, I haven't learned about this. So like my start into tech isn't your traditional, right? Like I wasn't, someone asked me what you want to be when you grow up, I wasn't like, I want to, be in tech. And so I think I would love to hear your story and your background on that, because I know yours is unique, and I think a lot of people can relate to it.
yeah, I did not go to school for tech by any stretch of the means. One thing I want to do is about AI is it is very scary because there
Hmm.
is this preconceived notion, and some of it is accurate, that AI is going to replace jobs. What's really cool about my company being an AI powered platform in tech is we leverage the AI to allow humans to be more efficient and do their job. So we're not looking to replace humans. It's just, everyone uses some sort of AI version, right?
Hmm.
Um, so I think that that's like really cool. And our tagline is with a human touch, but it is very, very fascinating how it's evolving. But my start, yeah, I mean, I went to school for corporate finance, which is like super boring. And so, I was a financial analyst for a very large national restaurant group. Like, I was terrible at it. They're like, oh, like update our EBITDA. Like, what about our balance sheet? And I'm like this Excel spreadsheet, the model was like 37 tabs, and it was just like really boring. So I left that, it was kind of a gift from the universe. They filed bankruptcy and outsourced kind of all of their financial and accounting to this business in California. And so it was hard though. Like I was unemployed for like 9 months and applying for 10 jobs a day. Like I did not just sit around and watch, TV. And just somehow serendipitously, I was out with my friends. I had a White Sox hat on. I'm a White Sox fan. And the gentleman was like, oh, you like the White Sox? And him and I are talking. And thank you, Jimmy Carroll, if you're listening. He owns a technology company. And he's like, why don't you do sales for me? I'm like, oh, I don't want to do sales. And he's like, that's why I want you to do sales, because you are authentic. And, you know, I don't want to say how long ago because that will date me, but darn good
Yeah.
at it. And, it was hard though. Back in the day, I'm like dating myself, selling hardware and software is hard. And I was like fighting for like a 5% margin. And so then, obviously grateful for my time there, have moved on kind of up the stack.
Mhm.
But, you asked me what I want to be when I grow up, I would have said a National Geographic photographer. Like I loved photography growing up, but at the time I'm like, what's going to make me the most money? Oh, let's go into,
Mhm.
finance. And it wasn't fun. So here we are
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
tech.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, like finance is needed, right? Like I respect finance, right? But also at the same time, it's like, I think with just your demeanor, I think like you do well. I mean, like with people. And so, I mean, at the end of the day, it's like you want to set up, your customers up for success. And I think that's huge when it comes to an education perspective, because a lot of people with the AI thing, it's like, I always use the analogy of like, well, PCs didn't replace people, right? It just created
Thank you.
new opportunities. And so I think, and my mom worked at IBM back in the day, and she was selling typewriters. And so like going back to typewriter, you know what I mean? Like, and now we're where we are today. It's like, I mean, IBM's still alive, right? It's thriving, but like
Yes.
they're selling not, I mean, they might be selling typewriters. I'm not really sure what their portfolio looks like now, but
They have a
it just
cloud.
showcase, yeah, yeah, just yeah,
Yep.
they've improved a bit, right?
No,
Yeah.
yeah. Change.
Just a little. So yeah, with that, like, I guess, is there any like, with your transition from finance to tech and just like in sales, like what if people are looking to like switch industries,
Mhm.
are there any like bad recommendations that they like should keep an eye out for, just so just because I think everyone should have that in the back of their head of like, because like when you're getting into something new, like you are a little bit novice to it, so
Okay.
and
So
navigating it.
yeah, so it's really interesting. You mentioned IBM, so I went to school for international business and corporate finance, but I was nominated by, believe it or not, again, it's like the universe doing crazy things to bring it all back together. But our information systems professors nominated me to actually go to India on behalf of Colorado State University. And I actually got to tour IBM, Tata, Google, and Oracle's facilities in India. And IBM was incredibly fascinating. And so it's so funny that you drop IBM on this call, because I still have the notepad they gave me, like, gosh, I don't even know how many years ago it's been since I graduated, because again, math is hard. And I still keep it. So
Yeah.
it's really cool. So it's just kind of like a full circle moment right there. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of friends. So, being a female in tech, I do try to empower and, mentor folks that are in college or looking for a career shift and a career change. And I would say, don't chase the dollar, because an industry is very lucrative. However, this being said, what I'm finding from folks that are mature in the industry or looking to get into it is they take an offer from a company that says you're going to make X amount of money, no cap, whatever. And they think they're going to, be making $500,000, $1 million a year in sales. And the company isn't seasoned. The customers are not happy. And so my advice is to interview employees, look at Glassdoor, whatever that is, interview customers, look on LinkedIn. If they're in the channel, I'm in the channel. I
Hmm.
know I have great relationships with all of the TSDs. Maybe ask a TSD channel manager, hey, what do you think about this company? And that's when I did, when I
Hmm.
was looking for this new role. Unfortunately, got laid off on maternity leave. Absolutely horrible. Number one performer on my team, 6 years tenure. It definitely wasn't performance based. I asked
Hmm.
my boss, it's not. When you go through an
Hmm.
acquisition, fortunately, your name on a list. And I
Hmm.
really took my time. I was very, very fortunate to have multiple offers. And I'm like, which one is going to be the best platform for me to have the most success? And I didn't take the company that offered the most money. Right. So my long winded is just do your research and don't chase the dollar. It's hard though,
No,
because you see it
it's
and you're
hard.
like,
It is
"Ugh."
hard. It is hard. I will say, just to echo on that, it's like, do what's best for you, right? Because at the end of the day, like, you are responsible for your mental health, your
Totally.
physical health, just
Yeah.
because just because something is a high price point, right? Like, dollar amount doesn't mean that it's going to bring you the value and the enjoyment that you would taking, a lesser offer. And I think for me, like, who the leadership is, like the executives are, that's a huge thing. Because throughout my career, I've noticed that, like, that's a big thing for me, is like, I want to make sure that my value system aligns with, or whatever the mission statement of the company is, that we align on the same, because you got to work with them, right? Like, if things hit the fan, you got, like, you like, regardless of if you like your coworker or your colleagues or not, it's like you have to, like, get things done. And I think, like, to your point, it's like, choose what in the long run is going to give you the most value, and the more, like, add to your basically talent stack. And I think that's huge. I mean, everyone feels bad. They're like, oh, I don't want to, like, tell them no, but it's like, no, you need to make decisions. You need to make, all that stuff.
It's like the worst thing in the world is I had, again, like, not, bragging at all, because I know that, the unemployment industry is high and people are struggling there, but I had 3 offers, and it, like, made me physically sick. And I almost felt like I owed them something, because, I took them through the interview process, and I'm like, why? Why? Like, anyway, so it's so, I don't know. It's funny that you say that, because I physically felt sick, like, having to break up with the companies that I didn't choose. But, I still speak with them. Like, obviously, it's a tight community. Back to what you said, is like, you need to make sure that the values are there, the mission is there. You need to know if the CEO aligns with everything. But one thing I never really had to take in consideration was travel. I've always been a road warrior. I love it. I love my points. I love my status. Like, but now that I have a 10-month-old, it's like, is this trip really worth my time? Like, what is the ROI for my family and myself? Does it make sense for me to go? So I'm becoming more strategic on, event travel. Before, I'd be like, I'll go. And now I'm like, does it make sense? So that's another thing to consider, the work-life balance, because to your point, the higher price tag might be a grind.
Yeah. And yeah. And again, I want to preface it. I think for people who, are mothers in the industry in tech, it's like, you can have your cake and eat it too. And I think, like, for you, it's like, that makes it even more important to make sure that you're picking the right opportunity, because your family's important and they're part of, like, your value system. So I think that's huge.
Thing I will say, which I probably wouldn't have said pre-motherhood, you cannot, not, your company does not value you as much as they value them, right? Like, I don't know how to say it, but I got laid off on maternity leave, right? Like, and I was so loyal to them, would do anything for that company, loved my company. And it, like, shocked me. And so now with my new company, I'm not going to kill myself. I'm not going to send emails at 9, 10 o'clock at night, obviously, unless I have a deadline, right? And it's just so crazy to me that I'm in this world. So I spoke with one of my best friends, high tech executive at a very, very well known technology company. And she was like, yeah, my boss was, calling me nonstop at 6:30. And I had to tell her, like, I'm sorry, I'm in the middle of cooking dinner. I'll reach back to you the next business day. I'm like, you didn't answer? Like, I'm like, not even wired not to answer. And she's like, I was cooking dinner for my family. Why would I answer? It's after 5 p.m. I'm like, so I'm historic on that, because I'll get calls tonight from my bosses and I answer it, but I'm like, why do I answer it?
I
It's, I'm wired to be like, yes.
It's a work ethic thing. It's like, I think for myself, and I think that you can relate, is like, you want to be accountable, right? You want to let people know that they can depend on you. And if that is an admirable trait, but at the same time, it's like, I have this struggle too. It's like boundaries, right?
Totally.
Is the world gonna end if I don't, like, if sending this email today or, like, tomorrow morning, is that going to hinder something? And usually it isn't, right? And so it's like, yeah, it's kind of like, you want to showcase that you're going to be there, and you're like, because you want to help, but at the same time, it's like,
It's
it's
wanting
exhausting. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
It's
because you need
exhausting.
to respect. I had a boss at my former company tell me, like, Jess, we're selling technology. Like, we are not saving lives here. And even he was,
Mm-hmm.
you are on vacation. Like, you don't
Yeah.
have to respond to this. You are fine. But I still, yeah, boundaries. I need to buy a good book on boundaries if you know one, because I struggle with them. Admittedly,
Yeah, no,
people do.
and I was just, that's my next question was like what book has made the biggest impact? That has basically, if there's one, and then if there was any books that, because there's so many books out there, and so like
So many.
I would think that I'm like fluent in, in a lot, but no, I'm still learning.
I literally look at my bookshelf. I'm like, How to Swim with the Sharks Without Getting Eaten Alive, Just
Yeah.
Listen. Um, but a lot of the books that I've read, yeah, I mean, I would say the most impact, I'm like literally looking at my bookshelf. One book that I actually literally, well, from a technology perspective, Future
Mm-hmm.
Times by Mark
Mm-hmm.
Goodman is fantastic. It is terrifying. It is a very, very lengthy read, but I gift it to my partners dozens of times. It basically talks about um, hackers and the unethicalness of them, and that there are people overseas that they literally go to an office every day, they swipe in, and their job is to exclusively hack American companies. They just go to the office and leave. And so
Mm-hmm.
it's absolutely frightening. They talk about the dark web, just
Mm-hmm.
password security. So that one
Mm-hmm.
is really, really cool. Future Crimes, it is fascinating. So from a business perspective, that's not some sort of sales training. For industry knowledge, I would highly encourage those folks to read that. I would say personally, another gift that I or book that I always gift, if any of my friends are
Mm-hmm.
listening, they're gonna be like, yeah, she got me that. Real Food, Fake Food, by Larry Ulstrom. It basically talks about if you're going to buy food, right? To make sure you're buying what you are paying for. Like, there's so much corruption with Parmigiano Reggiano cheese, champagne to be properly champagned, and wine, olive oil. Most of our olive oil is just canola oil or honey. Most of it's high
Mm-hmm.
fructose corn syrup, and these,
Mm-hmm.
overseas companies just throw like fake honeycomb in it. Anyway, it is terrifying, our food here. So that is something that I'm very, very passionate about.
Mm-hmm.
If you ever read Skinny Bitch, which is another food book, it talks about the FDA and how they are actually not as ethical and or looking out for you, because there is definitely money to be made if you are sick. So food and health are passions of mine. I don't know if that
Mm-hmm.
was your question, but I like them. They're
No,
good.
I mean, it's, yeah, it's evolving to that, because I think what you put in your body, right? Like information, like what you read, what you consume, food
Mm-hmm.
wise, alcohol wise,
Mm-hmm.
it's insane. Like for a period of time when I graduated college, I started working for Lifetime Fitness, and
Yeah.
just learning the nutrition and just what you're actually consuming and what is like what the ingredients are. It's just like it's alarming, because you're like, huh, I thought this like fiber bar was supposed to
Oh,
be
sugar.
great. Yeah, it's like basically might as well just have a donut, right? Like I'm just like, wow, let me
Well,
just,
there are some
so yeah.
donuts that are like healthier. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's really crazy. So, I try to eat clean. I try to eat healthy, and I've noticed a difference. One book which is on my desk, so I have to say, okay, so
Mhm.
from a business perspective, I'm all over the
Yeah.
place.
Yeah.
33 Ways Not to Screw Up Being a Woman in Technology. My really good friend, Marcia Dempster, shout out to her. Get this book, and I will tell you why. Obviously, there's 33 reasons. She talks about one, being a woman in tech. It's hard, right? Okay. We have to overcome a lot of objectives, but she talks about the do's and don'ts just in a professional setting. So this isn't, exclusive to technology, but one chapter that really resonated with me is negotiating. Women don't negotiate. And I read this book, and I read it on maternity leave, and I was like,
Mhm.
what? And so I used her, I guess I would say, confidence boost to negotiate my new company. And I probably wouldn't have had the comfort level or confidence to do that without reading her book. So I would highly, highly recommend if you're in business to pick that up.
Yeah, and I do think so I'm very I love to support veterans in the US military that came from US military, and a lot of them are learning like how to, like not survive in the corporate world, but it's just like it's a different same but different. And so I think that book could really add value to those who are
Yeah.
looking to transition.
Yeah, it's just do's and don'ts, and there's a lot of positive to it as well. But I found it really encouraging.
No, I love that. I have a book. I'm trying to find it, but it's basically like it's basically tools of Titan. So it's advice from like world performers,
Oh,
CEOs.
write
It's
that
like
down.
short advice. Yeah, it's by Tim Ferriss. So there's uh tools that I'm looking at right. Tools of Titans and then Tribe of Mentors. Those are two big books, but those are like yeah, it's basically a bunch of advice from people that have been successful. So either Olympians or CEOs and yeah, just really interesting. There's
Oh,
a chapter in health too and stuff like that and MBA and all that stuff. It just I love to learn people's experience because through experience you gain wisdom,
mhm.
right? And you save time and time is the only thing that you can't get back. And
Great
unless
point.
we build a time machine, which I haven't like heard the progress on that yet, but
Time.
but you don't really get that back. So um
Those books are cool because
yeah.
I think we're in a world right now where we need positivity, and they
Mhm.
seem very inspirational. So on
Yeah.
the list
Yeah.
will be added to my Amazon account as soon
Yeah,
as they're
yeah. And then I guess a couple last questions. If you I love to ask this question. If you had a giant billboard that reached billions of people
done.
worldwide or where just yeah, worldwide, what would you put on it? It could be a paragraph, it could be a slogan, it could be emoji. It could be pretty much it could be anything. What would you put on it?
Gosh, if it was an emoji and it would be a plane, I would say it would have to do something with travel. I mean, I say all the time, we are put on this planet to see it, and we absolutely need to
Mhm.
see it. So it would probably be something along the realm of take the vacation, book it, go out there and see the world because we only have a limited time on this earth. And I think that we should see all the beauty that's out there. I love traveling. Like my daughter's already had 10 flights and she's 10 months old. I'm like, I bring her everywhere. I'm not going to have this slow me down.
Yeah. No, I think it opens up
Take
your
the
eyes,
trip.
right? It
That's
opens
my
up your
billboard. Take the trip.
yeah. Take the trip. Yeah, book the trip. Yeah, I even like during COVID, I because flights were not really well, they were available but like not really. But so I drove
Yes.
through like the US and stayed at national parks and even
Oh,
just like nationally it's like it's beautiful. I stayed a week in Yellowstone and camped out there. It's just like just
oh,
it's gorgeous. It's just and again, maybe that's a little reason why I moved to Utah from Minnesota, maybe like from the Midwest, like maybe that was, I don't know, but it just it opens up your eyes and in Florida I went flew anyway. So it just yeah, to your point, it's like just yeah, book the trip. Book like take time off. Like go on
we
an
should.
adventure.
Let me tell you, we drove to Colorado during COVID and I went to Colorado State University. So I've done the trip like a dozen times and it was eerie. There was literally no one on the road. Like maybe a couple like trucks, like
Mm-hmm.
logistics trucks. No, like no one at a gas. It was so creepy and eerie, but it was great. We made record time.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. No traffic was which is good. So last question I have for you is if people want to like learn more about you and just like have questions, like maybe personal questions or just like career questions, how can they best get in contact with you?
Uh, I would say LinkedIn or, my email, jess.bryar, Bryar at gmail.com.
Awesome.
Yeah, but I'd
Well,
love
thank
to
you. Yeah.
talk to anyone who's interested in coming into technology.
And we need more women in tech
Yeah.
that are like it's like it's ever like it doesn't stop, right? So it's like I think the more like leaders and the more role models and the more mentors that we have in tech, the better. And yeah, so
I'm
thank you for
literally
your
trying to get
time.
5 people jobs right now. So I'm happy to help. Thanks for having me. This was fun.
Yeah,
And I love
yeah.
your
Well,
background. I love the vibes.
thank you. I when I got laid off, I saged my whole office because, you know, just you got to do that. And then this is like basically, well, I didn't, it's for 2 people, but I did by myself, but it's from Amazon and it's basically stick like removable wallpaper. So it's not like you don't have to use a bunch of additional what is it like there's like anyways, I've
Like,
sounds like
I
I've
need
done wallpaper
to
before.
post this up. It's very bland, so maybe I'll do like
Yeah.
a fun wallpaper if
Yeah,
we
like an
stick
accent
it up,
wall.
so I'll
Right,
have like
right?
a little, yeah,
Yeah, change it
very
up.
cool. Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye.